All right, get ready because today we are diving deep into the Maha Kumbh Mela in Prayagraj.
Exciting.
It's huge. It's really being called the world's largest human gathering.
Wow.
We're talking like over 400 million attendees expected.
Really? 400 million? That's just unbelievable.
It's hard to even imagine. And this year's Kumbh Mela was extra special because it just so happens to fall at the same time as this rare celestial alignment.
Oh, yeah, I read about that.
We're talking something that hasn't occurred in 144 years.
That's a long time.
I know, right?
Mm.
And this alignment of planets is, well, it's believed to be a super auspicious time, for spiritual purification renewal.
Yeah, it makes sense why people would want to, go, to cleanse and renew.
Totally. I mean, no wonder we're seeing people flocking from all over the planet to be a part of it,
Yeah, for sure.
But here's the thing. In our deep dives today, we've uncovered 4 distinct perspectives on the Kumbh Mela.
4. Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me.
Well, first we're going to look at its massive scale and the economic impact, right?
Okay, yeah, that's a big one.
Then we'll explore the vision of Yogi Adityanath, who, he's been spearheading this whole event.
Right.
Then, of course, we got to hear from the pilgrims themselves, their experiences.
Right.
And lastly, we'll touch on some criticisms that have emerged around the event.
Interesting. Okay, I like where this is going.
So let's unpack all of that, starting with, like I said, the sheer size of this thing.
All right, let's do it.
Just try to imagine a temporary city built specifically for this Kumbh Mela.
Oh, okay.
It's sprawling over 4,000 hectares.
4,000.
And with something like 150,000 tents.
Oh my goodness, that's wild. It's like they built a city the size of, I don't know, like a Manhattan just for this one event.
Right. It's mind-blowing. Logistically, I mean...
Oh, I can't even imagine.
It's monumental feat. Thousands of kitchens.
Oh, yeah. Gotta feed everyone.
And sanitation facilities, managing millions of people.
Absolutely. That's a lot of logistics.
Yeah, it's almost too much to comprehend. But speaking of managing all of this, our sources say the economic impact is projected to be massive.
Massive? How massive are we talking?
Well, over 2 lakh crore.
Okay, hold on, let me do the math. That's over 25 billion US dollars.
Yeah, you got it. Billions. With a B.
Wow. So this isn't just a gathering, it's an economic engine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And everything's impacted.
Well,
tourism, accommodation.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Local food vendors, even the flower sellers, everyone's seeing a huge surge.
That's amazing for them.
Now, the mastermind, so to speak, behind this whole thing is Yogi Adityanath.
Oh, yeah, the chief minister.
Right, of Uttar Pradesh. And he's been a real driving force in organizing all this.
Oh.
What's his vision, for this Kumbh Mela?
That's a good question.
Well, we know he's invested heavily.
Yeah.
Over 7,500 crore.
Whoa, that's a lot of rupees.
I know, right? And a lot of that's going towards, infrastructure and sanitation alone.
Makes sense. You got to have the basics.
He's calling it a Mahayagya of unity, emphasizing its potential to, bring people together, strengthen social cohesion, all through this shared spiritual experience.
A Mahayagya of unity, huh? Interesting.
Yeah, he's really pushing this idea that the Kumbh Mela is, a unifying force.
Bringing people together despite their background.
Right, exactly. But, his prominent role in the event hasn't gone unnoticed.
Oh, of course not, with a platform like this.
Some are suggesting it's tied to a Hindu nationalist agenda.
Yeah, I can see why some might say that. His visibility there, the government's messaging.
It's definitely fueled those interpretations.
It has, for sure. It's interesting, though, how these different sides kind of, clash.
Yeah, we've got this huge display of, faith, devotion, all happening while you've got this political maneuvering going on.
And economic realities, too.
Right, exactly. And speaking of economic realities, can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Oh, you mean that?
The lakh crore, $25 billion?
Yeah, that's going to be generated. It's a lot.
It's hard to fathom, that kind of money. And both the government and the analysts, they keep bringing it up.
They do, don't they?
Think about it.
Yeah.
Local businesses, artisans, everyone providing transportation, the whole hospitality sector.
Yeah.
It's a huge boost to the economy. You can't deny that.
No, you can't. It's substantial. But Akhilesh Yadav and the opposition, they're saying that this focus on all this money, it's distracting from the bigger picture.
What do you mean?
Well, they're saying the government's kind of using this whole Kumbh Mela thing as a shiny distraction.
Well,
Well, from all the everyday problems that, lots of Indians face, inflation, unemployment, all of that.
so they're saying the Kumbh Mela is overshadowing the real issues.
Pretty much, yeah. They think it's being swept under the rug while everyone's busy celebrating.
Wow. So it's like we've got these two separate realities playing out at the same time.
It seems like it.
You've got the spiritual high of the Kumbh Mela, all the renewal, the economic boost.
Yes.
But at the same time, there are people who are struggling.
Yeah.
People who aren't feeling this so-called progress.
Yeah. And it makes you think about that whole unity thing that Yogi Adityanath keeps talking about.
Right. Can it really be about unity when you have such a gap between the rich and the poor?
That's the question, isn't it? Like when some are benefiting so much while others are, left behind.
It's a tough question, right? You can't ignore the shared experience.
It's a sense of community.
Exactly, that the Kumbh Mela fosters.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's also highlighting those existing divisions, especially the economic ones.
Right. And even among the pilgrims, everyone's experience is going to be different.
I guess so. You're right.
Like we talked about Maria from Ukraine. She's there on her spiritual journey.
Right.
But there are so many others, and we'll never hear all their stories.
True. There are so many individual experiences.
Yeah. Farmers just trying to get by, families hoping for a miracle, people looking for some kind of relief.
It makes you realize that even in a crowd that big, everyone's there for their own reasons.
Exactly. Everyone brings their own hopes and fears to the Kumbh Mela.
It's a beautiful thought. I mean, think about it.
It is, isn't it? It's like a mosaic of human experiences all coming together in this one extraordinary event.
It's amazing.
And it's that human element, those individual stories, that really gets to me.
Me too. It's so easy to focus on the scale of it all, the politics, the economics.
Yeah, you can get lost in that.
But at the end of the day, the Kumbh Mela is about people and their faith. It's about connection, meaning, belonging.
And those journeys, they're as diverse as the people taking them.
Right. Some people want to cleanse themselves. Yeah.
Others want blessings.
Some feel drawn by the energy. Others are just curious. They want to see it for themselves.
It's true. It's amazing.
It just reminds you that even though it's this massive collective thing, everyone experiences it in their own way, finding their own connection, their own meaning.
I like that. It's a good point.
So where do we go from here? I mean, we've covered the scale, the economics, the politics, even the personal stories.
We have, haven't we?
Is there more to uncover?
Well, we talked a lot about what the Kumbh Mela is supposed to achieve, right? Like spiritual renewal, unity, prosperity.
Right.
But maybe we should also think about the things that happen that nobody planned for.
Like unintended consequences.
Exactly. Both the good and the bad.
Oh, okay. I like that. Give me an example.
Well, we talked about economic growth, right? But what about the environment? All those people, all that waste, the strain on resources.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, it's worth considering. And on the flip side, maybe there are social benefits or cultural ones that we haven't even thought of.
Like what?
Well, who knows? Maybe the Kumbh Mela will inspire new art or bring communities together in unexpected ways or lead to a better understanding of different spiritual traditions.
Right, because there are so many different people there.
Exactly. It's like a melting pot of cultures and ideas. Anything could happen.
It's true. You never know what might come out of it.
And that's part of what makes it so fascinating, It's this ancient tradition, but it's also a dynamic event, a catalyst for change.
Okay, I'm starting to see how even within those four perspectives we talked about, there's so much more to explore.
There really is, but
we need to come back to the criticisms, right? What Axara and the others are saying.
You're right. We can't just ignore that.
We have to acknowledge the problems, even when we're talking about the good things.
Absolutely. You need scrutiny and accountability. Otherwise, even the best events can go wrong.
So let's look closer at what Yadav's saying. He's claiming there's corruption in how the government's managing things, especially with the resources.
Yeah, he's saying they haven't done enough to provide for basic needs like water, food, shelter.
Especially for vulnerable people, like the elderly.
Yeah, it's a huge task, managing something this big, making sure everyone benefits fairly.
He's also saying they're using the Kumbh Mela as a way to distract people from real problems like inflation.
Basically saying they care more about spectacle than they do about helping everyday people.
It's a strong accusation.
It is, and a lot of people agree with him, especially those who are struggling.
So how do we reconcile the criticism, with all the good things we've talked about?
That's the core issue, isn't it? Can the Kumbh Mela be both a celebration and a source of discontent?
Yeah, can it be both?
It's complicated. There's no easy answer.
So what do we do?
Well, I think we just have to acknowledge that it's complex. that there are different narratives, different meanings for different people.
It's not just one thing to everyone.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that within all the spectacle, there are individual stories.
Of faith, struggle, joy, disappointment.
All of it, yeah. And it's about holding the people in power accountable.
To make sure the benefits are real and the downsides are limited.
That's it, yeah. You know, we've been talking about all these different aspects of the Kumbh Mela, and I keep thinking about that rare celestial alignment that's happening this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty wild, right? Like, it adds another layer to everything.
It really does. I mean, the Kumbh Mela itself is all based on, astrological calculations. They time the whole thing based on the positions of the sun, the moon, Jupiter.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it's pretty deep. And this particular alignment, happening every 144 years, it's supposed to be a really powerful time for spiritual purification.
It makes you think about how, like, for centuries, people have been looking to the stars.
I know.
For answers, for guidance. It's fascinating.
It is. And in this case, it kind of reinforces that idea of the Kumbh Mela as a meeting point between us and the cosmos.
Between the earthly and the cosmic, yeah. I like that.
It shows that connection between faith and the universe, our lives are part of these bigger cycles.
Whoa, that's deep.
And for the pilgrims going there, I bet this alignment makes it even more sacred,
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like a once-in-a-lifetime thing.
Exactly. It makes you think about, where we fit in all of this.
Yeah, like we're part of something much bigger.
Connected to these ancient rhythms of the universe, it's pretty humbling.
Okay, so we've talked about the spiritual side of things.
The symbolic side?
But what about the actual experience? What's it like to be there?
Well, imagine this. You're surrounded by people, like a sea of humanity, as far as you can see.
Wow.
Tents and shelters everywhere. You hear chanting, music, laughter.
Sounds pretty intense.
It is. There's incense, food smells, so many colors.
Like a sensory overload.
It is, but in a good way. I think the energy is incredible.
You can feel it just from all the people.
Oh, yeah, definitely. The Kumbh Mela is like this living thing, constantly moving, changing.
I can only imagine.
You've got pilgrims doing their rituals in the water, sadhus meditating, families eating, street performers.
It's like a whole other world.
It is. It's unlike anything else, but navigating that, it's gotta be tricky.
Oh, yeah, especially with the crowds, like we talked about, and the access to, basic stuff.
It's a challenge managing something this big.
Especially for older people with disabilities.
You're right. It's a huge responsibility. But even with all that, there's this feeling of resilience, of people helping each other out.
It's like organized chaos.
In a way, yeah. It shows how resourceful people can be and how much we need each other.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into the Kumbh Mela,
yeah,
I'm realizing it's more than just a gathering. It's a mix of everything.
Faith, culture, politics,
economics, all these different experiences coming together.
It is. It's a tapestry, like you said. And I think the most important thing for our listeners to remember is that the Kumbh Mela isn't just one thing. It means different things to different people.
That's true.
It's spiritual, it's economic, it's political, it's traditional.
It's everything.
And in a world where we're so focused on technology and being individuals, it's good to remember that we still need these shared experiences.
These rituals that connect us to something bigger.
Exactly.
So as you keep learning about the Kumbh Mela, remember all the different sides of it, Don't just look at the headlines. Think about the different perspectives.
Be open to it.
And let yourself be amazed by it. It's truly extraordinary. It'll stay with you, even after it's over.
It will.